Okay, so maybe we'll get this video on the road finally. I had to stop it once because the neighbour's charming team who's removed the exhaust pipe from his bike was mucking around in the street. Then the camera died because I'd forgotten to charge the battery. Then the dustbin lorry was passing, so you wouldn't have heard anything. So like maybe this time we'll be luckier. So my friend Jax, hi my lady, I told you I'd make you famous, really wants to see these 7 stages of grief. Why am I talking about this? Well, because it's the same process basically we have to go through as we do when we lose a loved one, is that we are losing a loved one in a way, in as much as we have to say goodbye to our old self, because things will never be like they were before. When you've got a chronic illness, you can't do the things you did before, you can't live your life the way you did before, your work changes, social life changes, everything changes. And so you have to go basically through the same stages of grief in order to be able to learn to live your new life, your new you, with this kind of, how could I compare, what could I compare? Like an abusive partner who's just settled into your life without being invited, abuses you mentally, emotionally, physically, and you just can't get rid of the partner, not 3 seconds, even when you go to the loo, it follows you everywhere. It's really important to know these phases of grief, because I was told about this when I had practically gone through the whole process myself. It would have really helped a lot if I had known it before. It would maybe have already maybe I wouldn't have tried to commit suicide when I was really deep down in one of the worst phases. So I think it's really important to be able to know this as soon as possible after you've been diagnosed with a chronic illness, whether it be fibro or any other illness. It's the same thing for everyone actually. So if we can't manage to make peace with this new thing that's decided to invade our lives, and now I'm talking specifically fibro, you get into this kind of a vicious circle of stressing because you don't want to live like this, you don't want this illness, you want it to go away. The stress makes the sleep worse, the pain's worse, which makes the stress worse, and ends up with people saying it's all in your head, if you would just cheer up and stop mourning, and you know, all the other lovely things that we hear that make us limit homicidal. So the first phase is the shock and the denial. So this will come after, depending on where you live, the quality of your doctors and your personal access to medicine and healthcare, etc. This might take a long time before you get a diagnosis. I personally was lucky. I have a super GP who believed in me, who known me for years and knew that even half dead I went to work anyway. So when I really started to tell him it really hurts too much, I just can't go to work anymore, he really believed me. Luckily he's an open-minded person and keeps on top of medical news, and so he directly told me, he said it stinks of fibromyalgia, you'd better go and see a rheumatologist. And so he sent me to in the right direction. Despite that, it still took 18 months to get the diagnosis, because I had to go and do MRIs and all the other things, and every time I was doing a test to see what my skeleton, my ligaments, my tendons, my muscles, my everything looked like, people kept telling me your body's perfect. Yeah, okay, perfect, right, thanks. And then so you end up crying every time because you're thinking it's just yet another imagery or something that proves that there's nothing wrong. So you know, anyway. So one day, whether it's after a few months or a pack of years, I know some people who were sick like this for 20 odd years before getting diagnosed. One day you walk into the doctor's office and he tells or she tells you, okay, fibromyalgia. Fibromyalgia what? At the time I was diagnosed, we weren't talking about fibromyalgia much, if at all. If I remember correctly, it had only just been recognised in Belgium, well, by my health insurance at least. Other health insurance still haven't recognised it now as a real illness. And my doctor didn't want to explain to me because I think he thought he didn't want to be the bearer of bad news, I think. So he said, go home and Google it. So the first reaction was immense relief because finally I was being told, yes, there is something wrong with you. It's not all in your head and all you need to do is shake out of your depression and blah, 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 blah. So there was a label on it. So initially I was relieved because thinking, well, if you know what's wrong with you, automatically you can fight it easier because you know what you're fighting. But sleep on it a bit and then wake up again feeling like someone just ran you over with a Mack truck or something, and the realization dawns on you that this is going to be every day of your life for the rest of your life, every second, every minute, every hour of every day of every year, and that kind of hits you pretty hard. So I think it's self-preservation mechanism. The mind just goes into denial. First you're shocked when you realize, when you listen to the words that have been told to you, and then you just go into denial. This can be like saying, oh no, they must have got it wrong, those bloody doctors, they never know what they're talking about, or they're going to find out it was something else and there's still a blood test result that needs to come in. Maybe it's something that can be, you know, I can take an antibiotic or something, and so you kind of talk yourself into, this isn't possible, it's just a bad dream, someone's going to wake me up or something. I am looking at my notes, please be patient, because I made notes for this particular chapter, but they're in French, so I'm reading in French and then translating, and with the fibrofog today it's a bit difficult, so I've already gone round through 2 pages, I think. I did look up on Google what fibromyalgia was, and even at that time, I mean, I found a list of 100 symptoms, and I went through the first 10 and I thought, I don't want to know, because obviously psychologically, I mean, if you're told you're going to have this symptom, it can be very easy to just think, oh, I've got that, and see symptoms in yourself that maybe are not related to fibro. So I stopped researching and I thought I'd figure it out, you know, as we went along, which wasn't a good idea, but anyway. It is really, really, really tough to have to face the fact that you're going to be waking up every single day in this state, more or less bad depending on the days. It's really tough, but the only way out of this is to face it. It's tough and you have to face it, that's it, there's nothing else to do about it. I mean, yes, one day they'll find the treatment, one day they'll find the cause, the cure maybe, but for right now, in the immediate future, we just have to fit up and live with it. So best to face it as soon as possible, because denial doesn't help. I know some people who are in denial now for 2 or 3 years, and it's tearing them up inside because they just can't live with this kind of it's a split thing. One on the one hand, you really, I mean, you can't deny that you're suffering the symptoms and the pain and the sleep loss and all the rest of it, and on the other hand you just don't want to know. So the younger you are, the harder it is to accept, but sorry, tough love, face it. This is one of the main reasons that motivated me to do this YouTube channel is to talk to people about what I personally experienced and went through, and give certain tips if possible. I don't know, for everyday life, these 7 stages of grief, how to tough yourself up mentally when you're a bit worn down, whatever. Because I think that however good the doctor is, my rheumatologist is the best in the world. I would never want another doctor than her. But she talks to me about the pain, she talks about the sleep. She asks me how I'm doing, like if I'm not too depressed, and that's it. That's just the tip of the iceberg. The million other things that are the worst, actually, because the pain and the fatigue, finally you end up managing to deal with it because you don't have the choice anyway, so you tough it up and deal with it. But there's the million other things, and that no one ever talks about anywhere, except in lists of symptoms and things like that. So I thought maybe sharing my experience would help people to say, oh yeah, that's me, oh I didn't know that was the fibro, oh I can stop worrying about this maybe, or whatever, you know. Anyway, I hope I'll be helping at least 1 or 2 people. If I manage that, I'm happy. So the second stage is pain and guilt. So it's very painful to have to come out of denial, because then you're having to look at things through a reality lens, basically. So it really does hurt mentally and emotionally. And it's also a moment where you start, first of all, you'll start thinking, well, I did anyway, oh, if only I had lived my life differently, this fibro wouldn't have hit me, because at the time people were saying that it was mainly hitting people who had a traumatic experience, like an accident or something like that, or had lived a long-term abusive relationship, which I had lived. And it's true, the stress was so immense. I don't know how I survived it, actually. And so I started thinking, yes, if I'd left this, if I'd had the guts to leave this relationship earlier, maybe I wouldn't have fibro now, and what. Anyway, I was trying to find reasons for which it was my fault that I was sick. Apparently, at the time, I beat myself over the head about it, but at the time, I didn't know about these 7 stages of grief. It's completely normal to be searching for reasons, what you did wrong that made you become sick. You didn't do anything wrong. Illness just hits where it wants to hit, whether it's a flu, a cold, a strep throat, ear infection, cancer, fibro, whatever. Illness hits when it wants to hit, and just passes you by if it's not your moment to have something. So it isn't your fault, but it's very difficult to try and convince yourself of that. So it's really important to work a lot on this. You have constantly things going through your head like, yeah, look at me, it's taken me 3 days just to do the kitchen and the living room, house cleaning, I mean. I used to do my whole flat in 4 hours after 8 days of work, 8 hours of work, after making the food, and after cleaning the apartment. I was still doing translations because I had the translations agency on the side. And now, by the time I get round the whole flat, it's time to start the beginning again, because I spread it out over 3 days. I always used to be like hyper mega reliable. Like if I promised the kids we'd go and do a picnic on Saturday, we did the picnic on Saturday. Even if it was pissing with rain, we did the picnic. And now having to cancel last minute. I mean, there's so many different ways that you can make yourself feel guilty all on your own. And I have to say about the guilty chapter, it is something that kind of settles on your shoulders like a cape of lead, if you like. And however hard you try, whatever stage you are in these phases, it'll always stick to you. I've gone through these phases. I've been living a long time now in acceptance mode, and even so, I look around, I see all the ironing that's piling up my bedroom, that's looks like there's a hurricane been through it, because I've been trying to tidy it up and I've made it worse than better. etc., etc., etc. The weeds are growing like that in my vegetable patch. I feel guilty all the time because I'm not doing what a person of my age, a normal person, let's say, would be doing. And I keep telling myself I'm lazy, and I know I'm not, but that's it. So it is, this guilt thing is going to be a constant for all your life. You just need to be working on it all the time. Shrug it off, be able to go and lie down and rest when you really need to without feeling awful about it. Well, anyway, we'll talk about guilt another time, because otherwise this video is going to take 3 hours and the battery will die again. We need, at this stage, you have to start learning to ask for help and to accept help if you're lucky enough that people around you offer you help. It's extremely difficult because practically by definition fibro tends to hit people who are hyperactive, have hyper busy lives and never needed to depend on anyone. I raised my 4 kids on my own. The fathers never helped or anything. I was working a full-time job and a translation agency and 4 kids and a sick mother and all the rest. It was just happening. It was just, you know, I was doing it. And then all of a sudden I was kind of slammed into a brick wall and couldn't do it anymore. So it was very difficult for me to ask for help or even to accept help, because someone who tells you, I'll come and do your shopping for you. Hello, I've been doing my shopping for 40 years or something, 30 years, let's say. I never needed anybody's help. It's okay, I'll manage. Well, no, sometimes you can't manage. Sometimes you just can't tough it out. So it's really important to start working on yourself to be able to ask for help and to accept it if people offer it. So, once you've got rid of this, well, you've got this guilt and stuff under control, you can go to phase 3, which is anger and negotiation. By that I mean that you're angry at the illness, at this fibro monster thing that's invaded your life. You're angry at yourself because you're not managing it to fit out. You're angry at everybody and everything because that's what pain does to people. Constant nagging, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. Pain makes you a bit cranky. It's something that needs to be worked on, but it's just, it's normal. I mean, you can't ask someone to be smiling and happy every second of the day when they feel like they're being stabbed and beaten whilst they're talking to you. So yes, we do get cranky. So at this stage it's really important to know about this, to recognize it and to try and not take it out on your close ones. If you're in a relationship, all the more. Your kids, colleagues if you're still working, friends, family, it's very easy to take it out on them because it's takes a lot more effort to force the anger down inside you or out of you than to just unleash it on whoever. So I already am not very much like that, and even I was a bit snappy at the time. So I'm just telling you, be careful, because it's not the people around you's fault. It's not your fault, but it's not their fault either. So try and not take it out on them too much. There's this negotiation, like you'll be trying to talk to the fibro and say, all right, I'll take a rest this afternoon, but in exchange you'll let me, I don't know, weed my veggie patch or iron my laundry or something without making me pay for it, which doesn't work, because fibro's a monster and fibro doesn't listen, and the more you do, the more it makes you pay. There's probably a calculable equation about that. You do 1 hour's work, it costs you 3 hours agony, whatever. I can tell you, for example, yesterday it took me maybe 2 hours with breaks in between to record the videos I did yesterday, sitting on that bloody awful hard chair. I paid for that for all the evening, all night, and I'm still paying now, and I don't know when I'll stop paying. So it doesn't work. Negotiating with fibro doesn't work. You can make it shut up, but it'll still get you in the end. So you need to get out of this rage and this negotiation phase, because you need to forward. Now, learning to live with this pain, aside from painkillers and all the rest, but mentally, you have to be able to, there's a very fine line between acknowledging it and pushing it to the side so it doesn't invade all your thoughts. You have to be somewhere in the middle. It's a very difficult balance to find, but you can't ignore it totally, because then you're not listening to the warning signs. You've done enough now, take it easy, go and sit down a bit or something. And if you listen to it too much, it invades every single thought you have, every single move you make, every single word you say, and that's just poison. So you really have to find the balance and the fine line, each to their own on that one, because I can't advise you how to do it. You have to find your own balance. Humour, well, obviously my Brit side, my daddy brought us up in British humour, irony, sarcasm. You know, we have this group of friends on Facebook. You lot, you know who you are, you nutters. Long ago we developed the theory that if someone's not feeling well, if you kind of cry with them, give them a pat on the back and say, oh, I hope you'll feel better soon, I'm so sorry, I wish I could do something for you, it doesn't help. Yes, it helps, because it's always comforting to know that someone cares about you, but in the absolute it doesn't help. Whereas if you, so we've got this credo, let's say, no sympathy for nutters. So if one of us is not feeling well for one reason or another, instead of comforting them that way, we make them laugh, we throw jokes at them or stupid pictures or we, you know, whatever, and make them laugh. Because if you can make someone who's feeling really bad laugh, even if it's only 30 seconds or 1 minute, it's 30 seconds or 1 minute of relief from the sorrow or the grief or the anger or the whatever's troubling them. So humour is really, really important. You have to learn to be able to laugh at yourself, about yourself. I mean, instead of doing like I did at the beginning and start crying in the middle of the kitchen, because I've already dragged myself from the bedroom to the kitchen 5 times and I still don't have a coffee, because every time I got there I forgot why I was there. Well, I had to laugh at myself and say, oh, well, they told me to walk an hour every day. I've already done half of that work today just by not getting my coffee. And at the end of the day, I get my coffee and then I put it on the bedside table and I forget to drink it till it's cold. So, you know, I'm very proud of myself when I finally drink a warm coffee. Anyway, so learn to laugh at yourself, because it's the only way to survive this. I think I'll stop the video here and go to phase 4, which is depression, reflection and solitude, because otherwise it takes just forever to upload on YouTube. So see you later for stage 4.